let's talk about this high yield MCAT equation related to thermodynamics. It's more important that you understand this conceptually than it is to apply any sort of math to this equation. So change in G is Gibbs free energy. If negative, the reaction will always be spontaneous. If positive, it'll always be non-spontaneous. It gets a bit more tricky when we're talking about change in H or enthalpy and change in S or entropy. So in the case of change in H and change in S, if change in H is negative and change in S is positive, then the reaction will necessarily be spontaneous, because if you think this through, change in H being negative, the second expression being positive, because T can only be positive, because we're talking about the Kelvin system where temperature can only be positive, then you'll have a negative number minus a positive number, which will always be equal to a negative number, and it'll be spontaneous. Versus if you have a positive change in H and then a negative change in S, then in that case, the results will always be positive and it'll be non-spontaneous. So that means if change in H and change in S have opposite signs, then we have fixed and hard rules. However, if they match the sign, so if they have the same sign, we can look at this example right here, change in H being negative and change in S being negative, and then temperature being like 100 Kelvin, okay? So you have -10 minus 100, which is the temperature, times the change in S, which is -5. So then you have -10 minus 500, which equals -10 plus 500, which equals 490, a positive change in G, which means the reaction is non-spontaneous. Now, if we were to lower the temperature, so to say drop it from 100 to 1 Kelvin, you can see, if you do the math right here, you'll see that the change in G is now -5 and the reaction is spontaneous. So when both change in S and change in H are negative, the reaction will only be spontaneous at lower temps. And how do you memorize this? An easy way to remember it is that because they're both negative, you need to lower, negative associated with lowering the temperature will make it spontaneous. Now, in the comment section, I need someone to tell me what will happen if they're both positive. What do you have to do with the temperature in order to make it spontaneous? And because this is going to be an easy answer, also give me an example. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to like and follow to see more of my content.